The right to go to the toilet in peace is probably something anyone who's ever looked after small children will almost certainly relate to. But a group of French MPs have taken up the cause for an entirely different reason. They've proposed a bill that would ban digital advertising from urinals and give them the freedom to pee in peace. Joseph Dallois is an advisor to one of the MPs who's behind the legislation. He outlined their argument.
Would you not appreciate these rare moments of tranquility? When your bladder finally is free to flow, when you breathe again. But now, there are these screens in the toilet. How can you imagine escaping this assault? You can close your eyes, but it's not recommended while urinating.
Well, the bill's message is to campaign against the invasion of screens into daily life.
The main political goal of this proposal is to fight advertisement because we are in the middle of a climate disaster. And we cannot let advertisement take over all our lives. We want to change public health regulations to ban all digital advertisements in the toilet. It's a first step because it's the most shocking tip of the iceberg, but we want to go further.
So, should the digital revolution stop outside the loo door, or is it perfectly reasonable to encourage us to part with our hard-earned pounds whilst we spend a penny? Philip Daniel is the managing director of Ad Media, the leaders in washroom advertising in the UK, and Robbie Gillett is the founder of Adblock Bristol, which campaigns for a city free from outdoor advertising. Welcome to you both. Robbie Gillett, I'm assuming you're going to be against this, but doesn't it have the air of a first world problem? I mean, what's the big deal at the end of the day?
Well, good evening. I think advertising is creeping into more and more of our spaces in our everyday lives, and this example from France of pushing back against ads in toilets is a particularly acute example which demonstrates this. We are seeing digital screens popping up in cities, in our neighbourhoods, and this example from France shows that it's very hard to escape the impacts of advertising, which are becoming more and more invasive and intrusive. So for this reason, lots of residents, such as Adblock Bristol, in Bristol and Cardiff and Leeds and Birmingham, lots of cities are starting to organise against the advertising industry.
Philip Daniel, you're clearly doing a good job, but, you know, when it comes to having a pee, people talk about mindfulness. Shouldn't you be present while you have a pee, not distracted by some ad?
Well, yeah, you can be sort of present, but I'm not quite sure sort of staring at a wall is how much mindfulness you get from that. We think from a sort of an environment, and we've been doing advertising in washrooms for over 20 years. So it's been providing something which people look at, they read, and they engage with.
Shouldn't there be some moment where you can take a step away from this commercial world that we're all hounded by?
I'm sure that, there absolutely should be some time to take a step away. But staring at a wall that's about a foot in front of you, I'm not sure is that the place where you want to contemplate, or is that an opportunity if someone gives you something that's informative, helpful, and interesting, something for you to read. I'm blessed with my job. I hang around in washrooms a little bit, and the thing that you always see is people engage with the posters. People will read about things that they don't normally see, and people will take in information that they ordinarily wouldn't. I mean, obviously one of the benefits of washroom advertising is gender-specific creatives. One of the challenges males have is a unwillingness to go to their doctor with medical conditions, and it's something they think doesn't impact on them. Well, when you're stood in front of a poster for a minute and it tells you about something that you hadn't thought referred to you, whilst you might flick past it on in a newspaper, when you read and you sort of read it for the full minute, then that gets people going to their doctors. We have a huge number of discreet campaigns. So it's
a bit like the side of the cereal packet in a way, isn't it? So Robbie Gillett, look, there's an unexpected positive upside of this.
Yeah, well, I think charity or public health advertising represents a relatively small section of the commercial advertising that we are bombarded with in our streets, and it's undermining our mental health with this pressure to consume all the time, our well-being, and as our French MPs were saying there, it undermines our environment, the constant pressure to consume and buy new products and services regardless of the environmental impact. So for that reason, residents in Bristol and other cities are organising to create happier, healthier, less stressed out cities where we can make space for the important things in life and not just be bombarded by ads all the time.
It's interesting you say that. We were just talking about 1989 and communist Eastern Europe, and one of the things people used to say when they described Eastern Europe was that it was a bleak place. There wasn't colour, there weren't these adverts, it was a grey, black and white place. You could argue that some advertising billboards just bring a bit of entertainment and colour into people's lives.
Yeah, but they're not the only show in town. So we could have our streets full of street art murals celebrating community figures or provoking new ideas with public art, or we could have rewilded green spaces. We could have lots of different things rather than just the inane droll of new ads constantly in our everyday.
So, Philip Daniel, isn't that the point? That if you're in the loo and you've got nothing better to do, maybe an ad's a welcome distraction, but it kind of depends where the adverts are.
So it does depend on where the adverts are, but I would say that outdoor advertising contributes about £250 million to local councils every year. So the utility and the environment and the areas is paid for. We pay for other areas within the community to make sure that there is that space, there is a place to walk, there is children's playgrounds and things like that, because that funds don't exist centrally.
No, well, there you go.
For the outdoor advertising contributor, we do make
Robbie
a very
Gillett,
positive
very
contribution to
briefly.
the environment.
Yeah, but who picks up the public health course of the adverts and of the products that you're advertising at us? The junk food that we see in our streets, or the cars that are exacerbating the air pollution crisis. The public purse that picks up that price, and advertisers take the profit.
Well, there we are. Don't think we're going to agree on that one. Robbie Gillett, Philip Daniel, thank you both very much indeed.